Welcome to Conference Crunch on the 4 Star Sports Media Network. This fast-paced deep dive into college athletics covers it all. Now, your host, Wes Pruitt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into this Conference Crunch, the podcast where we break down the chaos, the contenders, the controversies, and we go through the nation's collegiate conferences, but we do it in more than one sport. Appreciate everyone watching and listening. We got the live feed going over here on the studio cam. I'm your host, Wes Pruitt. You are sitting down at the 4 Star Sports Media Network. Appreciate everyone watching and listening. We did this earlier, but we had some technical difficulties, so I wanted to jump back on here and run back through the show. So tonight we're going to crunch the ACC, the Big 12, Big 10, SEC, American, Conference USA, Sun Belt, and we're going to get into the gritty Great American Conference. I'll give you some previews, key stats, things like that to get you excited for the upcoming year. It's right around the corner. And, folks, we dive into the fan favorite over-under segment as we talk win totals tonight. And then we close up with a little bit of controversy as I drop a bomb on y'all as far as some Big Ten Michigan issues. But once again, appreciate everyone watching and listening as we got the live feed going over there as well. Let's start with college football playoff as the committee met recently in preparation for the upcoming season following the first year of the 12-team playoff. And we talked a little bit about this with Tony, and we're going to talk more about a conference that wants to do just completely stupid ideas with expansion. But the CFP committee met recently. They will move its new member orientation session from September to October, where all 13 members will convene to review the first 8 weeks of the season and familiarize themselves with the computer systems they will use for the voting process beginning in November. No ranking or voting will be conducted during that meeting. There were some changes. There is some procedural changes that includes a residual policy to establish two separate distinctions, a full recusal consistent with the previous policy, and a partial recusal, which allows the selection committee members to remain in the room for the discussions and teams they are partially recused from, but continue to prevent them from voting during those rounds. So what you're telling us is that they've really probably always been in the room, and you're just telling us now, being transparent. But the opening segment is brought to you by SeatGeek. It's a platform where people can buy and sell tickets to live events such as concerts, sporting games, and more. It offers a marketplace for tickets, allowing users to find a variety of options, including potential deals and discounts. Head over to SeatGeek now. When you do, type in 4-Star Sports Media. That promo code will save you $20 off your first ticket purchase. You can also has interactive seat maps where you know where you're going to seat. You know what the field is going to look like. You know what the arena is going to look like. You've also got price tracking, so you can find out when those numbers make changes. That way you can make informed decisions. Speaking of informed decisions, we're going to jump over. Let's kick it off with the ACC. As Clemson looks to reclaim glory, and Clemson is probably the outright favorite according to guests such as Tony Syracuse and others across the nation. But when you look at last year, the freshman season for SMU, Cal, and Stanford, we saw SMU and what they did last year. But when you look at this year, Clemson is probably the runaway preseason favorite, 167 first-place votes. Projected to win roughly 9 to 10 games this year. Cade Klubnik, preseason ACC Player of the Year. 11 Tigers are also listed on the All-ACC team. He threw for over 2,800 yards last year, and they had a defense that allowed just 21.1 points per game. You look at contenders that could possibly knock Clemson off. You look at Miami. Cam Ward's gone. He's with Tennessee. In comes Carson Beck from Georgia. What will he be able to do? Will he be able to take shots down the field? You look at the defense in Miami. Who knows? Plus, you've got the Mario Cristobal effect. What will happen there? You look at SMU, can't sleep on them. Returning quarterback Rhett Lashley, you know that offense is going to push the ball down the field. They're going to score points. 38 points per game last year. We talked to Tony Siracusa recently on the ACC. We talked about sleepers. He mentioned Louisville. He mentioned other teams. He mentioned Georgia Tech. Voted fourth in the poll. Offensive line pretty well remains intact. 203 yards per game, top 20 in rushing last season. Could Georgia Tech be a sleeper in the ACC? They have the most returning starters league-wide. They average roughly 14 per team. It's a lot of parity going to be in this league. There's not a lot of parity across college football, and we'll get to that as the show matures. But everybody's looking for Clemson to dominate, but could someone step up and steal their crown? Hit us up on X at 4-Star Sports, and we're live right now. What's your ACC championship game pick? Who do you have in it? Could Georgia Tech sneak their way in? Could Louisville sneak their way in? Will SMU make it back for a second year? And then we've got football this week, folks. Week 0 is here. Stanford travels down to Hawaii, 6:30 p.m. CBS. Hawaii's a 2.5-point favorite. 50.5 is your over-under for this game. It's weird watching Hawaii at 6:30. It's gonna be odd watching them at that time, but really excited to see what the Rainbow Warriors have this year. Perhaps Timmy Chang's best season so far, best roster, best everything. That team is one that could mess some seasons up, and they could start with Frank Reich at Stanford. You've got Andrew Luck, who's the ifto facto athletic director, NIL leader, Mr. Everything. What will Stanford look like in year 2 in the ACC? Let's shift gears over to a wide open Big 12. As the Big 12 Conference recently announced they're launching a Big 12 quarterback club. It's a celebration of the league's rich history of field generals and its depth at the quarterback position this year. In case you didn't know, the Big 12 is home to the nation leading 9 returning quarterbacks who threw for 2,400 yards or more last season, as well as marquee newcomers who will bolster the Big 12 club for the 2025 year. Additionally, the year's slate of Big 12 quarterbacks has the most signal callers of any conference in America on the Davey O'Brien and Manning watch list, and numerous other things. This is the 30th season of the league. 5 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, 34 signal callers selected in the NFL draft, and more. This conference is a conference led by quarterbacks. It's a battle royale. We saw that last year. You look at Clemson. You look at Arizona State. Hell, they're not even doing preseason polls anymore because of Arizona State. They were picked to finish last. They win the whole thing. Can they do it again? Kenny Dillingham, young, energetic coach. Really exciting stuff. I love how he's so transparent with the fan base. I love it. He's like, I'm not begging you to come to games. I'm telling you what it takes to get to the big time. Scadaboo is gone. Sam Levitt returns. Top defense last year, 32 sacks last year on the season. Can they return? We talked about quarterbacks. You look at Colorado, that's a question mark. We know Deion's health is better, thank God, right? Kudos to Deion for that and his medical staff. But what will this team look like at quarterback? Will you see Juju, the freshman, talented? Or will you see Caden Slater? Who knows? But it all starts when Rocco Beck and Avery Johnson square off in the College Football Classic. First ever ranked matchup, by the way. That's the first ever ranked matchup in this Classic. Kickoff from Dublin, Ireland, 11 a.m., Saturday, ESPN. It's all eyes are on the Big 12. If you're Brett Yormark, you are loving this. You are loving it. How do you take advantage of it? How do you take that moment and make everything you can out of it. When you look at this league, it's the most competitive in the country, the most competitive league in the country. Texas Tech, a team that I've been saying for the last 3 months. You look at the way the NIL is built, you look at the way you spend money, you invest in, you get return investment. Texas Tech has put a lot of money in. We saw the return investment in softball. Now, can we see it in football? They're projected 8-9 wins. Could make a run there. We talked about Kansas State, Avery Johnson, number 17 Wildcats. The Big 12 averaged 30.5 points per game per team last season. It's the highest amongst all Power 4 conferences. You look at sleepers in this league, don't sleep on Utah. They got 15 guys back. Defense is really strong. Kyle Whittingham's he's a cerebral coach. Don't sleep on the Utes. When you look around the conference this week, you got Fresno State at Kansas. Very exciting moments for Kansas there as they open up a renovated stadium. Exciting things there. They're no longer playing in a small little soccer stadium. 13-point favorite for the Jayhawks over Fresno State. And then Kansas State, 3-point favorite. 51.5 over under. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk Big Ten, SEC, and then we'll get into the rest right here on Conference Crunch, presented to you by 4-Star Sports Media.
Welcome.
Welcome back to Conference Crunch right here on the 4-Star Sports Media Network, where we sit down and we crunch across the nation. We look at each conference. And folks, don't forget, this is just football. We've got other sports coming up as well. And folks, if you're looking for a great beverage to sip on while watching sports, I've looked no further. We found it. You may can see up front there's a couple of cans. I've held one in my hand here. It's an Athletic Brewing Company. Head over there now, athleticbrewingcompany.com/4-Star Sports for more information. But nation's leading brewing of non-alcoholic beverages. The Oktoberfest is absolutely incredible, by the way. You're going to be hearing a lot more during football season. But looking for a great beer to sip on during football. Great flavor, great aftertaste, everything. Doesn't really leave you bloated either. Great stuff. Head over there now, Athletic Brewing Company. Incredible stuff from that company. Nation's leader. They got one in Stratford, Connecticut. They got one in San Diego. They cover all across the country. athleticbrewingcompany.com/4-Star Sports for more. Head over to Big Ten now. As we talk about a monster conference, we saw the additions to Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington. Ohio State, obviously, the favorite. Projected to win 11 games. Jeremiah Smith's back. Caleb Downs back. Incredible talent. 70% of their talent is back. Production is back from last year's season. National championship season, by the way. And really, when you look at the Big Ten, they are the king of college football. Yes, we're going to talk about the SEC, but right now the SEC is not the king. Right now, the SEC has not won back-to-back national championships like the Big Ten has. But when you look at the Big Ten, just as we talk about the ACC, just as we talk about the Big 12, it's a conference that is really pretty open. I understand, oh, Wes, you're a freaking idiot. Ohio State, look, folks, you can't sleep on Oregon. You can't sleep on Penn State. You look at Penn State, they've got consistency of quarterback. They've got Drew Allen. They've got an incredible defense. They've got running backs galore. They got a defense that allowed just 13 and a half points per game last year, by the way. Penn State, by the way. That's what I'm talking about, the Nittany Lions. You got James Franklin. The question is, can James Franklin win the big one? You look at him last year. He was in the playoffs. He was not far from a national championship appearance. Oregon goes from a grandpa at quarterback to a kindergartner as they got the freshman starting. We appreciate everyone watching and listening over at the socials as well. We just decided to throw a live feed on top of the podcast recording tonight. When you look at sleepers in the Big Ten, you can't sleep on Indiana. Kurt Cignetti, the guy says incredible wild stuff. Fernando Mendoza, 2,500 yards is what some people are projecting from him, quarterback. Can't sleep on that guy. When you look at Big Ten last year, you put a Big Ten right now, they have 6 of the top 25 AP spots. When you look at the SP plus rating, which is what we follow, we don't look at the FPI, we look at the SP plus. They have a rating of 12.5. It's the highest in FPS. When you look at this team, you look at this conference, you look at the playoff. We talked about it earlier, 12 teams. We're going to talk about the Big Ten to close and what they want to do to completely just take over and collude the playoffs. But this conference is looking to have more than 1 or 2 teams possibly in the playoffs this year. Now let's head south. Let's head down to the SEC. Media polls pick Texas to win the title a little bit over Georgia. Obviously, you look at Texas, you've got Arch Manning. You've got a defense that allowed just about 1.5 sacks per game last year. It's top 10 on the offensive line. But that offensive line also has some injuries. That offensive line has some question marks for the Longhorns. What will Arch Manning do? What will he look like in a full season with him at the helm? He's got perhaps the best signal caller in the country in Steve Sarkisian. Plus, he's been groomed for this position. Let's not forget, he's been around for a while there in Austin. But you look around a loaded Southeastern Conference again. Georgia, what will they do? Alabama, year 2 under Kellen DeBoer. What can Gunnar Stockton do for the Bulldogs at Georgia? Will he be able to take shots down the field? Will Georgia be able to score the points to get the wins? When DeBoer was at Washington, his offense scored about 35 points a game. What will they do this year? Brand new quarterback down in Tuscaloosa. What will he be able to do? Will he be able to move the ball down the field and take shots down the field? It's going to be very intriguing to watch those two teams specifically. But then you've got Ole Miss. You've got questions there. You've got Auburn. Who the hell knows what's going on at Auburn? Hugh Freeze doesn't even know what's happening at Auburn right now. You listen to Hugh Freeze, and he's just lost. A lot of quarterback questions. Then you look at LSU. Tough game to start the season against Clemson. How will that game traject their season? You look at the highest returning starts. It's about 150 starts per team. 6 teams in the AP top 25 for the SEC. It's loaded. I said earlier, it's still not – they're not the king of college football right now, and that's because the Big Ten has won the last 2 national championships. Now let's jump over and talk about some group of 6 teams, and we'll start with the American. You look at Tulane this year, they're a strong favorite, projected 9-10 wins. Defense that forced about 25 turnovers last year. You look at others within the conference. I talked about Navy. I talked about Army. You look at those two offenses, what will happen in 2025 for both of them. Navy's run game averaged about 220 yards last year on the ground. Army, what will Army be able to do this year? Can they reproduce what magic they had last season? Memphis Tigers, a lot of question around Memphis. No more Seth Hennigan. In comes Brandon Lewis. Running backs galore. You lost wide receivers. You lost people on defense. How will Memphis do? A lot of portal players coming to the 901. How will Ryan Silverfield continue to maneuver the water coming off back-to-back 10-win seasons? When you look at 10 wins, the AAC had 4 10-win teams last year. The average offensive output was 28 points per game. A lot of people crap this conference. You can't crap the American. I think when you look at all the group of 6 conferences, the American has the best ability to crash the playoff in 2025. I understand it. I know what BYU did from the Mountain West. I get that. Can they do it again? That's why I say I think the American has the best chance to do it this season. I think the American is just a deeper conference. It has more teams that can make a run. It's got more teams in it that have the ability to potentially finish 11-1, 12-0. Another team, which I've coined the conference of acceptance, conference of importance. But Conference USA, they now bring in Delaware, they bring in Missouri State. Liberty projected for another 9-10 wins. You can't sleep on Western Kentucky. You can't sleep on Jacksonville State. Yes, Jacksonville State did lose their their coach, Rich Rodriguez. But you look at Western Kentucky, 307 yards per game through the air last year. It led the FBS, by the way, folks. But then you talk about teams you can't sleep on. The Delaware, brand new team, really strong FCS program if you've kept up with them of any way. And for those of you that play college football, 26, don't get confused because Delaware and Michigan have essentially the same helmet. But the Blue Hens, incredible football team. Do not sleep on Delaware. By the way, former Joe Flacco played at Delaware. When you look at CUSA last year, they averaged a little over 7 wins per team. Top 4 team projected wins have 32 combined projected wins this year. Mobility, a lot of athleticism all across the conference of Conference USA. Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, MTSU, Delaware, Missouri State's another one you got to sleep on. Sam Houston State and Western Kentucky kick it off. 6 p.m. CBS Sports Network. Western Kentucky is a 10-point favorite. 60.5 is the over-under. We'll get into more over-under here momentarily. Let's jump over to the Sun Belt, Fun Belt. They're now split into East-West, which I cannot wait for. You got Louisiana favored in the West, James Madison favored over in the East. You look at teams across this conference. You look at Arkansas State. Old Dominion's a team you got to look out for. Like I said, Louisiana, Texas State, final year in the conference. What will happen there? Will they make another run? They had a very impressive season last year under G.J. Kinney. We'll have more from the Sun Belt. But since in the last 5 years, this conference has won 24 games against Power 4 opponents. The average team returns 12 starters. The fun is still in the Fun Belt, Sun Belt. There's still fun to be had. You look all across this league, you cannot sleep. James Madison's 9-10 wins. Arkansas State, Butch Jones. What will they do? Historic season for that football team as they rock Little Rock September 6th against Arkansas. The divisions excites me in this league. How will that play out? Impressive defense from James Madison as well. This league, all 7 of these leagues we just talked about, there's really not a league that we have discussed so far that there's an outright, you can tell me right now, August 20th, who's going to win the conference. And you can sit there and tell me, you sit there with confidence, say, I feel like they're going to win the conference. No other team I feel like can beat them. I don't think there is. And that includes the next conference we're going to talk about, which is the Great American Conference, which is Division II, but it's absolutely loaded, folks. It's 10 teams. You got national title, former national title winners in Harding. They won 2023 national championship in Division II. Harding is the favorite. Projected 10-11 wins again. Little over 300 yards rushing a game last year. Defense had allowed 10.5 points per game. Then you look at the 2 teams that are right across the street from each other. Henderson State, the Reddies. Wichita State, the Tigers. 2 teams that are just going to battle until they meet. And when they meet, it is pure football heaven. We know, we've been there. Offensively, Wichita is going to be really potent again. Phil Knight, one of the most legendary coaches in all of college football. Then you look at Henderson State. They've got an offense that can score, but they've got a defense that's elite. The GAC last year averaged about 8.5 wins per team. Top 3 teams combined for 28 wins. If you're looking for football and you're looking for an exciting league, look no further than the Great American Conference. It is D2 football drama at its absolute best. Absolute best. All right, let's jump over the over-under segment. It's powered by Sportbox Co. If you're a parent looking for training aids, gear, awesome sports swag for kids of all ages who play baseball, softball, basketball, soccer, hockey, football, lacrosse, or volleyball, head over there now, sportboxco.com/4starsports to keep the kids playing and having fun while smiling month after month. Order now, and your first box will ship out soon. It's time for over-under segment. We're going wins, total wins here. We got 8 teams, over-under, but we're also going to give a little bit of reasoning. So we'll start with Ohio State, 10.5 wins. 70% of their production is back, top recruiting class. Another schedule that's a little favorable. You get a very tough team to start the year. Last year won 11 games. I expect them to win 11 again this year. I'm going to go over on Ohio State. Up next, we'll go down to Athens, Georgia. Let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, as Bulldogs are slated to win potentially 9.5 games. They did lose key defenders. They got a tough slate again. Obviously, they're in the SEC. I'm going to go under for the Georgia Bulldogs because I think they win 9. I don't think they get to 10 wins. I think they stop at 9. And I think 9 is with a bowl win. So I think regular season they win 8 games. Give me under for Georgia. Up next, we'll go Clemson Tigers, as we talked about them being an outright favorite right now. A lot of people have them potentially winning it all, winning the national championship. 9.5 wins. You look at Cade Klubnik, elite defense behind him, 21.5 points per game last year for Clemson. But you look at Cade Klubnik, how can he grow? How can he continue to get bigger, better, and move this offense forward? You look at Dabo Swinney's been there. It's his 17th year in Clemson. I think 10 wins is the floor for this team. Give me over for Clemson. Up next, we'll go to Austin, Texas. We talked about Texas earlier. Arch Manning, veteran offensive line, but there were some injuries that changed some things there. But 10 plus wins is likely for this team. Give me over 9.5 wins for Texas. Give me over. I think Texas wins 10. I think they win 10. We talked about John Summerall and the Tulane Green Wave earlier. It was projected 8.5 wins. 9 wins last year. A little bit easier non-conference. They do have a meeting with Ole Miss. Strong returning core. Quarterback was a little bit of a shaky situation this year. Another team across the country that's going to be answering a lot of questions when it comes to the quarterback play. But Tulane, 8.5 wins. I'm going to go under because I think Tulane wins 8. I think they win 8. All right, up next, let's go Liberty. 9.5 wins for the Flames. A little tougher schedule, and I say that because you add in Delaware. I think Delaware is a team you can't sleep on in Conference USA this year. Give me under. I think they win 9 flat. I don't think they get to that 10 mark, so give me under for the Liberty Flames at 9 wins. 9.5 was the number we were looking for, by the way, folks. All right, up next, Sun Belt, we got James Madison. Let's look at the Dukes. 8.5 wins. Really good defense. Plus, you've got strong transfers coming in. Give me over, as I think the Dukes will get at least 9 wins this year, potentially even 10. They potentially could be a team from the Sun Belt who could crash a party. Up next, we'll go Great American Conference. We'll start with Harding, as they are projected 9.5 wins. I mean, I'm going to go over. Their defense is elite. The offense is just stifling to watch. It completely just dismantles defense. It's a loaded conference, though, and we talked about that. We talked about the GAC. It's a loaded conference. I think Henderson State's a team to look out for in that league. I think Ouachita's a team to look out for. Arkansas Tech, Southern Arkansas. Southern Arkansas is really building a lot. But I want to wrap it up. We get a little closing segment. It's the controversial closing segment. But it's brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Head over there now. We've got loads of styles throughout the year. For anyone seeking a non-alcoholic option can experience the best in craft brewing in as many ways as possible. You can get essential athletic brews like Run Wild, Upside Down, Free Wave, Athletic Light, also Oktoberfest, which is really good. They regularly release experimental batches, limited edition styles, and collaborative brews crafted with favorite brands. Head over there to the website, athleticbrewing.com/4starsports for more. What a crunch tonight, guys. I appreciate everyone watching and listening. We've had a nice little crowd watching and listening. I appreciate it. We talked about Clemson's dominance. We've jumped all the way over to the Great American Conference and how packed and how many fireworks are going to go off in that Division II conference. 2025 is primed for epic storylines all across the country, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure and follow us over at X at 4-Star Sports. Then follow us on all social media, 4-Star Sports Media Network, on all your podcasts. But before we go, I do want to get a little controversial a little bit. Both of them kind of tie into each other. So we talked a little bit about it with Tony Siracusa, but I want to mention it again tonight. The Big Ten is pushing this radical playoff expansion of 28 teams, which is just pure greed, folks. That's all it is to it. They're trying to set this up as a Power 2 invitational. It's pure greed. It's not fair. But at the end of the day, who gives a crap about fair anymore? No one cares about fair. It's all about greed. And if you're the SEC and you claim to the moniker of the best conference, which without a title in the last 2 years, and there's backlash from this realignment as well, then you're clashing with your biggest competitor. You're clashing with the Big Ten over portal rules, playoff spots, all this. But in reality, what it's doing is it's killing the parity and it's changing It's making the sport unrecognizable. It frustrates the hell out of me. It really just makes it seem like you're trying to squeeze out everyone else but you too. And it's exactly what you're doing because you have the money. And at the end of the day, if there's one thing we learn in this country is if you have money, that means you, if de facto, some way feel that you have power. It's not always the case. But this power grab, I'm telling you right now, this power grab is going to fracture college football. It's already began. It's already began to fracture college football. And it's, like I said, it's making the sport unrecognizable more year by year. But when you look at these two conferences, and we've talked about it with Memphis Spence, we've talked about it with Tony Siracusa. If you followed our work since 2021, 2020, really, you've heard us talk about this. Eventually, they're going to bolt. They're going to make a super league. They're going to ditch the NCAA entirely. And then what happens? How does college football change then? And this all ties into my last controversial segment, is the controversial closing of the show. But it's Michigan. Everybody wants to sit there and say that this sign stealing scandal was just, it was nothing. It was a big nothing burger. Nothing came of it. There was no punishment. The punishment has changed. We talked with Tony about it recently this week. We talked about it prior. Punishments have now changed. They're not going to take championships away because no one's going to sit there and say, oh, well, they don't have a trophy. Oh, they didn't win it. No, they're going to feel like they won it. They're not going to take away postseason ban because they're not going to punish the players of today. And yes, you can sit there and say, oh, well, I remember when this happened, and I do too. But I also remember that the NCAA is still the ruling power over eligibility, academics, and guideline. The CSC, College Sports Commission, is over NIL, money, those types of things. There's a difference. We talked to Tony about this, and if you go back, you can run the tape back. If you go back and listen when this whole deal came out, we read the 76-page document, 78-page document. The CSC is different, and the NCAA, while they only have 13 people that can go investigate, they're still there. But when you hit a team with a $50,000 fine, 10% budget cuts, forfeiture of the 2025-2026 college football playoff revenue, you hit Stallions and Harbaugh with a show clause. And it's because of absolute overwhelming evidence of a scouting scheme that was completely impermissible. Jim Harbaugh did not care. Jim Harbaugh did nothing to change it. And you consider and say, Wes, everybody does it. They weren't doing it like this. This was elaborate. Is it controversial? Hell yeah. It taints the recent title. They can appeal, which that's whatever. You can call it unfair all you want to, but guess what? You cheated. You knew you cheated. And Wade Manuel, that's why he didn't want to answer questions. I know, we were on the call. He did not want to answer questions about Michigan. This is why. If the appeal fails, what happens to Michigan's 2025 season? Does it change anything? Do players exit? Do they rally for a revenge tour? Or did it just change college football and say, oh, you can go cheat. The NCAA is not going to do anything to you. They're not going to punish you. They're not going to take away a postseason game. But what they will take away is they'll take away your postseason money, which in turn goes into revenue sharing. We'll be back next week. We're going to continue to deep dive into the fallout of college football. We'll be back next week with exclusive insights into games, recaps, and much more. Guys, you don't want to miss it. This is a show that's going to continue to grow for us here at 4-Star Sports Media. We appreciate everyone watching and listening. We thank you again for watching and listening to another episode of Conference Crunch right here on the 4-Star Sports Media Network.
Did you know hogs can skate? Arkansas Razorback hockey is almost here. And we here at 4-Star Sports have you in goal for every shot. The Ice Hogs podcast keeps you covered all season long. Stay tuned for more at 4star.live.
The following has been produced by 4-Star Sports Media. Thank you for listening. If you want more coverage, head to our website at 4star.live.